JT Sports. I'm back with you guys with another video. This video, I'm here with my 2021 NFL mock draft playoff edition. A lot of you guys have been asking me to do a mock draft over the last couple of weeks, and here I am. Before I get into it, make sure that you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel if you are new, because I upload NFL videos and college football videos daily. Now, a quick disclaimer before I start the mock draft. I am not trying to predict what players teams will draft, because I know there are a lot of you guys who like to go down the comment section and get mad and say, oh, JT, you're an idiot. Our team will never draft this guy such and such spot. I don't care. I'm not trying to predict what players certain teams will draft. What I do is I put myself in the role of general manager for all 32 teams, and I pick the players who I would draft if I was the GM for that team at that specific point of the draft. So I am not trying to predict what players each team will draft, but I know a lot of you guys are going to disregard that anyway. So let's go ahead and get into it. So with the first overall pick of the draft, we already know that the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be taking Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback out of Clemson. He's regarded as the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. I think this is a no-brainer here. I made a hypothetical video a couple of weeks ago about why the Jacksonville Jaguars should draft Mac Jones. Never really encouraged the idea, but it was just a hypothetical of what could happen. The Jacksonville Jaguars wanted to draft Mac Jones. Now everybody thinks that I believe that Mac Jones is the best quarterback in the draft class. That's not true. That's just a hypothetical video. Trevor Lawrence going to the Jacksonville Jaguars will finally give the Jacksonville Jaguars some stability at quarterback, and he should develop into a pretty good quarterback. Actually, as a matter of fact, he should be the best quarterback that Jacksonville has had in almost the last 10 years. Second overall, I have the New York Jets taking quarterback Zach Wilson out of BYU. Me personally, I believe that Zach Wilson is the second best quarterback in this year's draft. I think that he is better than Justin Fields. Although Justin Fields had a pretty good game against Clemson in the college football semifinals, one game that's not override two bad games that Justin Fields played against Indiana and Northwestern in the Big Ten championship game. Justin Fields, does he have a lot more upside than Zach Wilson? Probably so, but at the end of the day, I think that the New York Jets need a quarterback who can start day one. I feel like Justin Fields is a guy who could use 1 year to sit behind a veteran or so until he's ready to become an NFL starting quarterback. Zach Wilson will be an upgrade from Sam Darnold. He's really good when it comes to reading defenses. He has a really good deep ball. He's also accurate to football. He has some mobility as well. Third overall, I have the Miami Dolphins taking wide receiver and Heisman Trophy winner Devontae Smith out of Alabama. The Miami Dolphins, there are some people out there that think that they should already move on from Tua Tagovailoa, which doesn't make any sense at all because they just drafted a guy last year. So you need to build around Tua Tagovailoa. You need to give him guys who are good inside the numbers, who are good at creating separation. Preston Williams and Devontae Parker on the outside are good, but they don't create a lot of great separation. There are more wide receivers who are good at catching those 50-50 balls down the field. So for the Miami Dolphins, go ahead, get Devontae Smith. He played with Tua Tagovailoa a couple of years ago back at Alabama. Go ahead and reunite him with one of his former teammates. And I think you should have a pretty reliable target for Tua to throw the football to. Fourth overall, Justin Fields to the Atlanta Falcons. Justin Fields was born in the state of Georgia. I think it only makes sense that the Atlanta Falcons would select Justin Fields if he is available at this point in the draft, because it looks like that they plan on going into a rebuild. Their owner recently came out and said that every player is available for trade. That includes Matt Ryan, Julio Jones. So it looks like they're going all in on a rebuild. They're going to have a new general manager. They're going to have a new head coach. And if you are a new head coach and a new GM of a new team, you want to draft a quarterback if you have the, chance to. So for a new GM, a new head coach coming in, taking over for the Atlanta Falcons, they would likely get their franchise guy in there. I think Justin Fields would be that. Also, this will also make Justin Fields really happy because he was born in the Georgia area, well, in the state of Georgia, not near Atlanta, but a couple of hours away from Atlanta, so he'll be close to home. He'll be reunited with his friends and family, and I think that Justin Fields to Atlanta Falcons would be a really good pickup, because not only do you get a quarterback who has a lot of upside, but if you do decide to keep Matt Ryan, he can sit behind Matt Ryan for a year or so, learn, develop, and then when it is his time to start, he should be ready to go. 5th overall, I have the Bengals taking offensive tackle Penny Sewell out of Oregon University. This is a no-brainer pick. We saw what happened to Joe Burrow. I think that injury to Joe Burrow should give the Cincinnati Bengals organization and their coaching staff a reality check that, hey, we need to protect this guy. We need to keep this guy upright. So go ahead and get Penny Sewell out of Oregon. He is a swing tackle. He can play left tackle. He can play right tackle. He can play any spot on the offensive line when it comes to tackle spots that you need him to play. And the Cincinnati Bengals can, without a doubt, use him right away to help keep Joe Burrow upright for the next couple of years. 6th overall, have the Philadelphia Eagles taking tight end Kyle Pitts out of Florida. Zach Ertz doesn't really look like the Philadelphia Eagles are going to try to keep him on the team, so he pretty much made test free agency and signed elsewhere. For the Philadelphia Eagles, you need more weapons on the offense side of football. You don't have a lot of great wide receivers. You don't have a reliable tight end. So by getting Kyle Pitts, you kind of somewhat fill two of your needs, because Kyle Pitts is not only a great tight end, but you can also lie him out wide at wide receiver as well. You can put him in the slot. He's a matchup nightmare for slot cornerbacks. Linebackers can't keep up with him. Linebackers, the majority of the time, don't even have the cover skills to keep up with Kyle Pitts. Then you can put him on the outside. He can be a matchup because most corners would be too small to match up with Kyle Pitts' frame. And plus, with his sheer athleticism, he should be able to just overpower certain cornerbacks in the NFL. He's like Travis Kelce 2.0 is what I call him. A lot of people are trying to figure out what is a good comparison for Kyle Pitts. It has to be Travis Kelce. They're pretty similar in terms of how Kansas City utilizes Travis Kelce. They line him up at tight end. They also line him up out wide sometimes as like another wide receiver on the field. So I think that Philadelphia most definitely could use Kyle Pitts with his versatility, not only to play tight end, but to play wide receiver as well, because they need some playmakers on offense when it comes to whoever's going to be their next quarterback, whether that's Jalen Hurts or Carson Wentz, whoever. They need to improve this offense by adding some more playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. And I think starting off with tight end Kyle Pitts would be a good addition to Philadelphia's offense. With the next couple of picks, I have the Detroit Lions starting off. 7th overall, taking quarterback Trey Lance out of North Dakota State. Lions fans may be like, well, JT, why would we pass with Michael Parsons? Well, here's the thing. You're going to have a new GM and a new head coach, also like the Atlanta Falcons. You may not ever get an opportunity to pick this high in the draft ever again. So all of you Lions fans who want to say, man, JT, we still got Stafford. Stafford can play 2 more years. Listen, I understand Stafford can play 2 more years, but at the end of the day, with Matthew Stafford's injury history, do you trust him to last another 2-3 years playing all full 16 games? Because he's been getting beat up over the last 2 seasons for the Detroit Lions. So if you are the Detroit Lions with a new head coach, a new general manager, I think that you kind of have to take a quarterback at this spot, because you never know if you're going to be in this predicament again in the next couple of years, because the Detroit Lions end up making it to the playoffs. Okay, you're not going to have a top 10 draft pick. So therefore, you may not ever be in another position like this one in the upcoming 2021 NFL draft to draft your quarterback of the future. I think Trey Lance is a little bit raw. He has a lot of things that he has to work on, but he does have tons of upside. I think that he has Patrick Mahomes kind of upside with his ability when it comes to him running the football. He's just as good as a runner as Justin Fields. You also look at how good he is at making decisions. At one point, he only threw 1 interception the 2019-2020 college football season. I don't care if it's FCS Subdivision 1 football. To only throw 1 or no interceptions in any college football season, regardless of what kind of college football you're playing, is impressive. So I think if Trey Lance is on the board for Detroit, you can't pass up on him, because you may not ever be in this position ever again to draft your quarterback of the future. 8th overall, Michael Parsons to the Carolina Panthers. Okay, you got Jeremy Chin at safety. You got Dante Jackson at corner. You could utilize another corner. You could take another edge rusher here, or you could take Michael Parsons, who is regarded as the best linebacker linebacker in this draft class. Now, I'm not all that high on Michael Parsons. I don't really know if he would be a great top 10 pick because he didn't play all last year. He decided to opt out of this past year's college football season. So I'm not all that high on Michael Parsons. I don't really know how much I trust him in coverage, but he is a sideline to sideline linebacker. He's a really good tackler. You can also utilize him to blitz the quarterback as well. So for Carolina, I wouldn't be surprised they go defense once again with their first round selection. Last year they took Derrick Brown. That panned out really well. They also took Jeremy Chin. He's played really well. He looks like he's going to end up winning Defensive Rookie of the Year this year. So you bring in Michael Parsons, pair him up with Derrick Brown on defensive line, Jeremy Chin in the secondary, and you got him in the middle of the field. I think that Carolina's defense will be dramatically improved with Michael Parsons. And by the way, Carolina's defense is already getting pretty good. Now you add Michael Parsons to the fold. Carolina's defense could end up being one of the best young defenses in the NFL come the 2021 NFL season. 9th overall, Patrick Surtain. The cornerback out of the University of Alabama. I think that he is the best cornerback in this draft class. He has great ball skills, great instincts. He doesn't really get beat all that much down the field. The Denver Broncos most definitely could utilize another cornerback because their cornerback position this year has been really shaky this year. 10th overall, I have another cornerback going off the board back-to-back. I have cornerback out of Virginia Tech, Caleb Farley. Caleb Farley is a really good cornerback as well. I think that he fits really well in Dallas style of defense. When you look at Trayvon Diggs is a great press corner. Same thing with Caleb Farley as well. He's also is a great press cornerback. So you pretty much get two cornerbacks who are pretty similar in skill sets. So I think that for the Dallas Cowboys, one of your biggest flaws on defense is your secondary. You pair Caleb Farley up with Trayvon Diggs, I think you can end up having one of the better cornerback tandems in the NFL for years to come. Jalen Phillips going to the New York Giants with the 11th overall selection. The New York Giants don't have a great dominant one-on-one pass rusher, and that may sound crazy because you look at how good the New York Giants defense has been this season, but if they were to take this defense to the next level, they need to go ahead and get a pass rusher. I think that pass rusher Jalen Phillips out of Miami is the best pass rusher in this year's draft class. He has the productivity. He has a really good frame. He's athletic. He's explosive. I think that he is without a doubt the best pass rusher in this draft class. For the New York Giants, you need to get a pass rusher. If you're able to get a solid pass rusher who can dominate those one-on-one matchups outside for you, and you get a guy who can potentially give you 8-9 sacks a season, a guy like Jalen Phillips, that can take your defense from being good to being one of the best in the NFL. 12th overall, I have the 49ers taking the third cornerback in this draft class off the board. J.C. Horn, the cornerback out of South Carolina. The 49ers doesn't really look like, according to reports, that they're going to end up bringing back Richard Sherman. So they're going to have to bring in another cornerback to replace him. I could see them drafting J.C. Horn out of South Carolina. I think he'll be a pretty good pickup here at the 12th overall selection. They also probably could go offensive line here as well. But I think if J.C. Horn is on the board, I think he would be the best pick for the 49ers when it comes to improving their secondary with Richard Sherman looking like he's about to lead the 49ers in free agency. The Los Angeles Chargers have to take off the tackle. You need to protect your franchise quarterback, so I have them taking off the tackle out of Virginia Tech, Christian Darrisaw. Christian Darrisaw, in my opinion, is the best offensive tackle, well, the second best offensive tackle in this draft class. Not as good as Sewell, but he's really up there. Justin Herbert is the best rookie quarterback since ever. He's the best rookie quarterback in NFL history according to statistics. So you need to protect him. Protect your franchise investment. It's no use of drafting a quarterback if you're not going to give him the necessary tools up front to succeed. So for the Los Angeles Chargers, you already have a pretty good receiving core. You already have Austin Eckler in the backfield. Now you just have to do is improve this offensive line, and your offense could be the best in the NFL next year. When you look at what Justin Herbert was already able to do his rookie season, now you give him an improved offensive line. I think the Chargers could do some big things today address the offensive line. I think Christian Darrisaw here, so really good pickup. I got another offensive tackle going off the board. Jalen Mayfield out of Michigan to the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings offensive line kind of struggled this year. It's been pretty up and down. Kirk Cousins was pretty up and down. Aside from that, if they improve the offensive line, they could use offensive tackle Jalen Mayfield out of Michigan. I think he is a really good run blocker, which is really good for what Minnesota likes to do. They like to run the ball down people's throats with Dalvin Cook. So it's only fair that you give the best run blocking offensive lineman in this draft class, Jalen Mayfield, and pair him up on the Minnesota Vikings team that likes to run the football. I think that would be a pretty good pairing there. If I was Minnesota, I would go ahead and pull the plug there with Jalen Mayfield from Michigan. 15th overall, I have the Patriots taking quarterback Mac Jones out of Alabama. Mac Jones is your prototypical New England Patriots caliber quarterback. He doesn't have a lot of athleticism. He can move. He can run if he has to. He can pick up 3-4 yards if you ask him to, but he's not really that much of a runner. But he is your prototypical drop back quarterback that the New England Patriots love. Not a Tom Brady clone, but he pretty much will fit that Patriots system well. He's accurate with the football. He makes good decisions with the ball as well. Doesn't turn the football over that much. I think he'll be a pretty good fit with Bill Belichick and offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels down there in New England, with the rumors coming out that they're probably going to part ways with Cam Newton in the offseason. And from what I've seen out of Jarrett Stidham this year, it doesn't look like Jarrett Stidham is the answer at quarterback. So Mac Jones pretty much seems like he is the perfect fit for New England. He's like your prototypical New England Patriots quarterback. It's like a match made in heaven. They also could take another edge rusher. Maybe they go cornerback to replace Stephon Gilmore. I don't know, but I think the Patriots would like to lock down their franchise quarterback for the next 10 to 15 years. I think Mac Jones could be that guy. Now, they do have to bring in some more wide receivers, which they should be able to do in free agency, knowing that they have a lot of cap money. I think like their top 5 in cap space, they have like 50-something million in cap, so they can bring in some more wide receivers to give Mac Jones some more weapons to throw the football to. I think Mac Jones is the perfect definition of what a New England Patriots quarterback is. Doesn't have the strongest arm, but Bill Belichick doesn't really care about how strong your arm is. He cares about how good you are when it comes to making decisions. Second, it comes to your accuracy, and can you sit down in the pocket and make some accurate throws downfield. Mac Jones can do all 3 of those things. I have edge rusher Kwity Paye out of Michigan going to the Arizona Cardinals. Hassan Reddick has balled out this year for Arizona. I don't think they're going to be able to keep him unless they want to franchise tag him. I don't really know if he is worth the franchise if you are Arizona, so you can go ahead, part ways with him, bring in Kwity Paye. I like Kwity Paye a lot. I don't think he's great. I don't really think he's all that good like a Jalen Phillips is. The upside is there really, but I don't really think I can see Kwity Paye becoming like a 15-14 sack guy. I think he's more around like 8-9 sacks a season. He reminds me a lot of Melvin Ingram. I like him a lot. I just don't think that he's the best pass rusher in this draft class, better than Jalen Phillips, like what a lot of people are making him up to be. But he is pretty good. I think if you are Arizona, I think Kwity Paye would be a pretty good selection. I have another edge rusher coming off the board. Edge rusher Gregory Rousseau out of Miami coming off the board for the Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders defense has been terrible for pretty much the entire decade. I can't remember the last time the Las Vegas Raiders had a good defense. You could go cornerback here, but I don't really think that there is a cornerback left taken here at this point. Maybe you take Stokes out of Georgia. But for the Raiders, I really think you need to improve your pass rush up front, because for the Las Vegas Raiders, a good way to help out your secondary is by getting pressure on the quarterback. And for the Raiders, they didn't really get a lot of that this year. Matt Crosby had like 6 sacks. Cleveland Farrell pretty much has looked like a bust this year. So I think edge rusher Gregory Rousseau will be a pretty good pick up here. He has a lot of potential, incredible upside, but he doesn't have a lot of production. He only has like 1 great year of film when he played for Miami, when he had that monster year, the 2019-2020 season for Miami. But aside from that, I think a great comp for him is Vic Beasley, because Vic Beasley and him pretty much have similar characteristics. He only has 1 pass rush move. Vic Beasley wasn't all that well developed coming out of Clemson. He had a lot of potential. He was super athletic, had a very good frame as well, similar to Gregory Rousseau. But the question is, how great could these guys be if they get proper coaching, and can they develop to fit their full potential? We saw it happen to Vic Beasley. He had 1 great season. He dipped. So for Gregory Rousseau, he reminds me a lot of Vic Beasley. I think he may be the biggest boom or bust prospect in the 2021 NFL Draft. 18th overall, I have linebacker Xavier Collins out of Tulsa coming off the board. I believe that Xavier Collins, hands down, is the best linebacker in this year's NFL draft. And I think that he may be the best linebacker prospect that I've seen in a very long time. When you look at Xavier Collins, he does everything well. Literally, I'm not making that up. He can get after the quarterback if you send him on blitzes. He's good in pass coverage. He's also a very good tackler. Like, there is nothing that this guy cannot do. And if we're being honest, I could also see New England taking him with the 15th overall selection because they like players who are smart, who have great football instincts and high football IQ. That's what Xavier Collins has. Xavier Collins' football IQ, I don't think is matched by any linebacker in this draft class. I think that he would be a perfect fit for the Miami Dolphins and Brian Flores, considering the fact that Miami kind of runs like a similar defense to New England. And I think Brian Flores would love to have a linebacker that fits his defense, the style that Xavier Collins plays. The fact that this guy can do everything, cover, tackle, get after the quarterback, and he's smart with high football IQ, I think that he is a match made in heaven for the Miami Dolphins on that defense. 19th overall, I have the Washington football team taking offensive tackle Samuel Cosmi out of Texas. Washington needs help on the offensive line. Okay, their offensive line has improved over the second half of the season, but I think that some more improvements can be made. Yeah, Washington fans may be like, JT, offensive line's play solid, which is true, but you shouldn't be okay with being solid. Like, this offensive line needs to become elite for Washington to ever make a chance or make a run at winning the Super Bowl. You have to be able to win up front. For Washington, if you can improve the offensive line, that's going to give your quarterback more time to drop back and throw the football, rather that's Alex Smith or whoever is the quarterback for Washington come 2021. I think the offensive line definitely needs to be addressed. You also could go receiver here. Maybe you go corner, but I think that offensive tackle will be the smarter selection here because I don't really think that there's really any great cornerbacks aside from Eric Stokes out of Georgia. Maybe you could take him 9th overall. Maybe you could utilize another wide receiver because I only have had one wide receiver taken off the board at this point. But I think for Washington, I think addressing the offensive line is the more important thing. Then you can go ahead and address the wide receiver position in rounds 2, 3, 4, and so on. Next up, I have offensive guard Elijah Vera Tucker out of USC going to the Chicago Bears. I could see Chicago taking a wide receiver here, but I think that improving the offensive line would go a longer way because you could get a wide receiver in rounds 2, 3, or 4. I don't really think that Chicago's drafting a wide receiver will help out their problems on the offensive line unless you get a wide receiver who can play offensive line, offensive guard, offensive tackle, because Chicago's offensive line has been up and down this year. Yeah, they played a little bit better in the second half when Mitch Trubisky ended up being named the starting quarterback for the second time this year from Nick Foles, but I think this offensive line still has a lot of improvements that they need to make, and I think Vera Tucker will be a pretty good pickup here. Got another offensive tackle coming off the board. We had offensive guard coming off the board in Vera Tucker with USC in the previous pick. Now we got offensive tackle Rashawn Slater out of Northwestern University. I think he's a perfect fit for Jacksonville. He pretty much could play anywhere. I think he may be the more versatile offensive lineman in this draft class. You can pretty much pick him in any, scheme, West Coast, spread, air raid, whatever offense you run in the NFL, Rashawn Slater can play anything. So he's a good fit for any offense. For Jacksonville Jaguars, you need to improve your offensive line. Give Trevor Lawrence some protection up there because you already got a pretty good group of receivers. You got a pretty good halfback. Now you just need to build up front. I think Rashawn Slater would be a really good pickup for Jackson with the 21st overall pick. 22nd overall, I have cornerback Eric Stokes out of Georgia going to the Indianapolis Colts. Indianapolis secondary is all right, but they could improve. Xavier Rhodes has been pretty okay this year. But I think if you're Indianapolis, you do need to draft some more corners. I think Eric Stokes out of Georgia would be a pretty good pickup. 23rd overall, I have the Cleveland Browns taking Jeremiah Owosu. Not going to try to pronounce his last name because I don't know how to pronounce it. I watched, a couple of videos on how to pronounce his last name, but I don't know how to. So this guy, in a lot of people's eyes, well, the majority of people's eyes who cover the draft, is the best linebacker prospect in this year's draft. I do not agree. Don't think he's better from my guy out of Tulsa, but he is pretty good. He's freaky athletic. He can cover sideline to sideline, has a lot of upside, has a lot of potential as well. But I think that Xavier Collins is a lot better because he's just better all around. He can do everything. He has high football IQ as well. But Jeremiah Owusu isn't no slouch neither. He's just on par with Xavier Collins as well. Maybe I'm biased because I like Xavier Collins a lot. But I think if you're Cleveland and he's available, you have to go ahead and pull the plug on Owusu because one of your biggest holes on defense is the lack of talent that you have at the linebacker position. 24th overall, I have the Tennessee Titans selecting offensive lineman Wyatt Davis out of Ohio State University. Wyatt Davis, I think that he's been pretty good for Ohio State. I think that he may be one of the more underrated offensive linemen in this draft class. Tennessee could use some help there as well. So I think Wyatt Davis would be a really good pickup for Tennessee at this point of the draft with some of the better offensive linemen coming off the board. 25th overall, I have another offensive tackle coming off the board. Liam Eichenberg out of Notre Dame University. I like Eichenberg a lot. I've watched every single Notre Dame game. He's been really good. And for Tampa Bay, you need to improve the offensive line because when you went against the Rams, you went against Chicago Bears, teams that are really good up front, you struggle. So pair Liam Eichenberg on the opposite side of Tristan Wirfs, and I think that you could have one of the best 1-2 punches at the offensive tackle position in the NFL. 26th overall, no-brainer Jamar Chase out of LSU going to the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens need a wide receiver to pair up with Marquise Brown. I think Marquise Brown is more of a Robin than he is a Batman. He needs to have a true number one wide receiver for him to really be effective in the NFL. Not taking anything away from Marquise Brown, but he struggled with jobs. He also hasn't really gotten open all that much. He's more like a bona fide deep threat. So you need a guy who can run all the routes, who can do all the dirt underneath, who can also take the top off the defense. Jamar Chase can do that and then some. So I think Jamar Chase will be a good pickup for the Baltimore Ravens at this point in the draft because they need a number one wide receiver. I think you pair him up with Marquise Brown. You have a Batman-Robin combination. There you go. Lamar Jackson gets another playmaker on the offensive side of football. Have another wide receiver come off the board. Jalen Waddle out of Alabama to the New York Jets. He is regarded as the fastest wide receiver in this draft class. He could break John Ross' 40-time record in the combine. That remains to be decided. But for the New York Jets, I think at this point you got to go wide receiver because it's not really an offensive lineman at this point in the draft who I think is worth being drafted in the first round at this point. So I think you go ahead, you draft wide receiver because you don't really have any solid wide receivers aside from Jamison Crowder. Denzel Mims has flashed some potential, but you still need some more help there at that wide receiver position. So I think Jalen Waddle would be a really good pickup for the New York Jets. 28th overall, Alex Leatherwood, the offensive lineman out of Alabama. Pittsburgh needs to improve the offensive line. I know they've been throttled by injuries this year on the offensive line, but Alex Leatherwood would be a really good pickup for Pittsburgh because he's versatile. You can start him out at offensive tackle, but some people don't think that he'll be all that effective at offensive tackle at the NFL level because many people question his ability to keep up with the pass rushers there. Plus, he may be a little bit slow. So you could move him to guard as well. That's a good thing about Alex Leatherwood. He's really versatile. You can play him at offensive tackle or you can play him at guard as well. Either way, I think this is a win-win scenario for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think Alex Leatherwood is a first-round caliber talent. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Alex Leatherwood go higher in the draft if he has a good combine and good pro day performance. So I think the Steelers should go ahead and take Alex Leatherwood with the 28th overall selection. 29th overall, I have Kyle Trask going to the New Orleans Saints. Drew Brees is expected to retire. Don't really know how much they believe in Jameis Winston as their quarterback of the future or Taysom Hill. I think Taysom Hill would be a really good backup, but long term, I think you can't really do that much with Taysom Hill. He has a limited arm. He's not all that accurate. I think he's a good backup at best, but I think Kyle Trask would be a really good selection for New Orleans because he could start right away, even though he does need to improve his footwork. Like, he has really heavy footwork. Like, it's like if you were to stand next to Kyle Trask while he dropped back, you could hear his feet. You hear that bump, bump, bump. But I like Kyle Trask a lot. This is a guy who has worked very hard. Remind you that He never started a game at quarterback in high school, so he works hard. He's a great leader. I would love if the New Orleans Saints take Kyle Trask with the 29th overall selection. Dylan Moses going to the Buffalo Bills with the 30th overall pick. The Buffalo Bills could use some more depth and help at linebacker. Dylan Moses was a guy who I was really high on before the season began, but he's had some really streaky performances. He got exposed in the SEC championship game. I mean, it was not good for him, and that game really changed my opinion on how I feel about Dylan Moses. I thought this was a guy who was one of the best linebackers coming out. He was supposed to be a top 15 pick last year, but he got injured. He ended up returning to Alabama for one more year, and I think that kind of hurt him in some aspects, because I think if he would have went out last year, then he probably would have went top 15. Now he'll probably be a late first, early second round selection, because he hasn't really been all that great this year. Has a lot of mental mistakes that he makes as well that he's able to make up for because of how fast he is. But even then, I thought that he was one of the best coverage linebackers in the draft. Now I don't really know about that, but I think for Buffalo he'll be a pretty good fit there. Now, with the last two selections, we have Terrace Marshall Jr. going to the Green Bay Packers with the 31st overall selection. Green Bay needs some more wide receivers. You passed up on a wide receiver last year. Don't think that you make the same mistake 2 years in a row. Stop being cheap with wide receiver. Give Aaron Rodgers some more playmakers. I think Terrace Marshall will be a really good fit in Green Bay's offense. With the last selection of the pick, of the NFL draft, I have offensive guard Trey Smith out of Tennessee going to the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs offensive line has been decent. Well, it's been pretty good, but it has been good as what it was last year. You had some issues at guard. I think Trey Smith could come in. He could be a really good pickup for you. I think Trey Smith is one of the more underrated offensive linemen in this draft class. I think that he is a top 15 talent. He was regarded as a top 15 talent before the season kicked off. I think him playing for Tennessee kind of hurt him because Tennessee didn't really get that much attention after they started going on that losing streak to end the season. But Trey Smith is a really good offensive lineman prospect. Don't be surprised if he boosts up in the draft boards as well come draft time as well, if he ends up having a really good performance. So this is it for my 2021 NFL mock draft. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comment section down below. Make sure that you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos and content, and